Okay, imagine this for a second. You're living in a fortress. You've got the best locks, steel shutters on the windows, cameras everywhere inside. You feel totally secure.
Right.
But here's the catch. The foundation of the house, the actual concrete it's built on, is alive. And it's shifting the rooms around while you sleep. It's listening to your footsteps. But whenever you look out the window, everything seems perfectly normal. You have no idea it's happening because you trust the very ground you're walking on.
Wow, that is a terrifying image. And honestly, it's the perfect analogy for what we're digging into today.
It really is. Welcome back, everyone, to the WeCyberYou Unlocked podcast. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something that, well, it feels like it's straight out of a sci-fi novel, but I promise you it is very real.
Oh, yeah.
We're unpacking a high-level threat report from the team over at WeCyberYou, and our topic is the Hypervisor Rootkit.
And this is one of those topics that really separates, the casual tech fans from the serious security pros. It completely changes how you look at a computer.
It does. My initial reaction reading this report was just shock. I mean, we aren't talking about a simple virus that deletes your files. This is a fundamental takeover of the computer's reality.
It's all about control, total control. See, most malware, it operates on the surface, inside your apps, your operating system. This goes so much deeper.
Oh, deep.
Our mission today is to really understand how an attack can hide not just inside your computer, but below the operating system itself. It's considered one of the most sophisticated techniques in all of cybersecurity.
Below the operating system. That's the phrase from the source material. It just kept jumping out at me. It sounds impossible.
It does.
So to get why this is so scary, we need to break it down. We have two big ideas colliding: Hypervisor and Rootkit. So based on the text, what are we really dealing with here?
Okay, so let's look at the hierarchy. A rootkit, just in general, is malware designed to give an attacker root access. That's the highest level of control, while, and this is key, hiding itself.
Right, so it's the burglar who loops the security camera footage while he's cracking the safe.
Yeah.
The guards just see an empty hallway.
Exactly, that's the camouflage.
Yeah.
Now, the hypervisor part, for that, you have to kind of visualize how a computer is structured. We think of the operating system, Windows, Mac OS, whatever, as the king. It sits on the hardware and tells everything what to do.
And in the standard model, the OS is what they call ring zero, right? The absolute center of power.
Exactly. We talk about protection rings. Think of it like a medieval city. Ring 3, that's the outer city where your apps live. Your browser, Word, they have low privileges. Ring 0 is the castle keep, the kernel, the OS. It has direct access to the hardware. And usually that's where the buck stops.
But this report is saying there's something deeper, something under the castle.
And that's the hypervisor. Its legitimate job is to let you run multiple operating systems on one machine. It's a virtualization layer. To do that, it has to sit underneath the operating systems to manage the hardware for them. Some people call it ring -1.
Ring -1. Okay, so in a normal setup, the hypervisor is like the landlord, and the operating systems are just tenants in different apartments.
That's a great way to put it. Now, here's the attack. The malware doesn't infect the tenant, the OS. It becomes the landlord. It slides itself into that ring -1 layer.
So this is that below the OS concept from the source. It says the rootkit hides by taking control of that virtualization layer.
Yes. And once you control ring -1, you control everything above it. The tenant, your OS, it can lock its doors all at once, but the landlord, he has the master key. He can see through the walls.
So if the OS is the captain of the ship, the hypervisor rootkit is the ocean itself. The captain can spin the wheel, but the ocean decides where the ship is actually going, and the captain has no idea.
The captain is completely oblivious. That's the whole point.
So let's get into the mechanics. How does the ocean take over? The source material lays out this simplified attack chain. And even simplified, it's wild. Step 1 is the attacker installs a hidden hypervisor. How do you just install a new foundation under a house that's already built?
Hey, that is the magic trick. It's often called a blue pill attack, named after,
The Matrix?
The Matrix. So your computer's running normally, an attacker gets in maybe a 0-day, maybe a really good phishing attack, and they run this payload. And this payload uses hardware virtualization features like Intel VTX that are already built into modern chips.
So they're using the computer's own features against it.
Exactly. These features are designed for legitimate virtual machines. The malware just flips a switch and says, okay, guess what? I'm the hypervisor now. Then step 2, migration.
Which the text says is moving the OS to run on top of this new hypervisor.
It literally lifts up the floorboards of reality and slides itself underneath. It takes the operating system that's running right now, and wraps it in a virtual machine. On the fly.
Wait, on the fly, so not during a reboot.
No, that's the terrifying part. It can happen live. 1 millisecond, your OS is running on bare metal. The next, it's running inside a simulation that the attacker controls.
A malicious virtual machine. It really is the Matrix.
It's the perfect comparison. Think about Neo in the pod. His brain thinks he's in 1999 New York, but his body is in a vat. Here, your OS is Neo. It thinks it's talking to the CPU and RAM. But really, every single time it tries to touch the hardware, the hypervisor intercepts the request.
And the OS is totally unaware of this.
Completely. The source is explicit without the operating system knowing it's compromised. The OS asks the hardware, what time is it? The hypervisor can say it's 12.00, even if it's 12.05. The OS asks, is there any strange software running? The hypervisor says, nope, all clear.
This gets to the capabilities the report mentions. It lists 3 things the attacker controls: system calls, hardware access, and activity. Let's talk about system calls. How does that work?
Well, a system call is just software asking the hardware to do something. Read a file, send a network packet. Because the hypervisor is at ring -1, it's the middleman for everything.
So like a man-in-the-middle attack, but inside the chip.
Exactly. The OS wants to save a file. It sends the data down. The rootkit catches it. It can copy it, modify it, whatever it wants before it ever even hits the disk.
And what about memory? The report says monitoring memory is a huge risk. Why is that scarier than reading files?
Because encryption usually stops at the memory level. You have an encrypted file, right? To open it, you have to decrypt it. And where does that decrypted data live while you're working on it?
In RAM. In memory.
In RAM. Since the hypervisor controls the hardware, it can do something called introspection. It can literally just gaze into the mind of the virtual machine. It can pause your OS, freeze time, read the entire contents of your memory passwords, encryption keys, everything, and then unpause it.
And the OS doesn't even know it missed a beat.
To the OS, it was instantaneous. This allows for what the text calls total surveillance, keystrokes, chats. It's all there for the taking.
That is deeply disturbing. I'm looking at my laptop very differently right now. Which brings up the obvious question. Invisibility. I have antivirus. I have security tools. Why don't they just scan and find this thing?
And that's the million-dollar question. The answer goes back to that hierarchy. The source notes that these are extremely hard to detect because they operate outside the scope of the OS.
Because the antivirus is just another program running inside that OS.
Correct. The antivirus lives in ring 3, or maybe has a driver in ring 0, but if the OS is in the matrix, the antivirus is in the matrix with it.
So the antivirus is Neo before he took the red pill. It's looking around the fake room, scanning the fake walls, and reporting, all clear.
You got it. You can't see the walls of your own prison. The rootkit can just lie to the security software. The antivirus tries to scan a memory address where the rootkit is hiding. The rootkit intercepts that request and just feeds it back a bunch of zeros. Nothing to see here.
So it creates this massive blind spot. The tools we rely on are being fed a fake reality.
Which allows for persistence. That's another key term from the report. Long-term, stealthy control. Because it's so hard to find, the attacker isn't just visiting. They own the place. They can stay for months, years, just siphoning off data.
Okay, but it can't be literally invisible, can it? I mean, there must be some way to catch these.
Not invisible, no. Just very, very well hidden. And there's an arms race. Defenders have developed tricks like timing analysis.
Timing analysis. What, with a stopwatch?
Basically, yeah. Remember how the hypervisor is a middleman? Well, even a fast middleman adds a tiny bit of latency, a few extra nanoseconds.
Ah, I see. So if an action is supposed to take, say, 100 clock cycles, but it takes 500.
You know something extra is happening in there. You found a glitch in the matrix. But here's where it gets crazy. The attackers know this, so the really advanced hypervisor rootkits will intercept the very command that asks for the time.
You're kidding? They intercept the stopwatch itself?
Yes. The security tool asks, how long did that take? The hypervisor intercepts the question, subtracts the time it took for the interception, and gives back a fake, normal time.
That is a staggering level of cat and mouse.
It's a constant battle.
That's wild. Okay, let's pivot to the who. Who is actually at risk here? Because this sounds like a ton of work. I'm guessing some random hacker isn't doing this to steal my Netflix login.
And that's the good news. The source material is really clear. These are not common in everyday cybercrime.
So the average person listening probably doesn't need to panic.
Likely not. This is a precision weapon. The text really points to high-value corporate or infrastructure targets. Think power grids, defense contractors,
And
governments and intelligence agencies, absolutely. And the attackers are what we call APTs.
Advanced persistent threats.
Right. These are well-funded, often state-sponsored groups, not some kid in a basement. This is the heavy artillery. The source calls it one of the most sophisticated attack techniques out there.
That's reassuring, but also terrifying that it exists at all. It kind of shakes your fundamental trust in a computer.
It does. That's the whole point. We operate on what's called a root of trust. You trust your browser because you trust your OS. You trust your OS because you trust the kernel. This attacks the link between the hardware and the software.
It severs the root.
It creates a situation where you literally cannot trust what your computer is telling you. It's the ultimate gaslighting.
So, to pull this all together, while we might not be the direct targets today, understanding this seems critical.
It is, because technology in this field trickles down. What a nation-state uses today, a ransomware gang might automate and use in 5 years.
And it reminds us that just reformatting the hard drive might not be the answer anymore.
Exactly. If the ghost is in the foundation, putting new furniture in the house doesn't help. The ghost is still there.
Well, this has been an incredible and slightly scary deep dive. We've gone from haunted houses to Ring -1, all to unpack the Hypervisor Rootkit.
It's a dense topic for sure, but essential.
So before we wrap up, let's just do a quick recap. Hypervisor Rootkits. They're rare, they're advanced, they work by sliding a malicious layer underneath your OS.
Right. And that traps the OS in a virtual prison, basically, letting the attacker watch everything while being invisible to your antivirus.
A perfect summary. And the targets are the big ones. Governments, critical infrastructure.
So yeah, while you might not be on the hit list, the technology is out there, and it really challenges our basic ideas of security.
It's a good reminder that the rabbit hole always goes deeper.
And here's a final thought to leave you with. We all worry about strong passwords, not clicking bad links, but this forces a much more uncomfortable question.
Which is?
If your operating system can be tricked into thinking it's in control when it's really in a cage, how do we know our tools see reality? If your security scanner says you are safe, but the scanner itself is hallucinating, what does safety even mean?
That is a thought to chew on. If the map itself is wrong, it doesn't matter how good you are at reading it. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this peeled back a layer of the cyber world you might not have known about.
It was a pleasure.
And a huge thanks to the source for all this. This deep dive was brought to you by WeCyberYou. So if you found this breakdown helpful and you want to stay ahead of this stuff, we have a mission for you.
Yes, please make sure you follow the channel. You won't want to miss our next one.
And definitely head over to WeCyberYou.com for more educational cybersecurity content just like this. They do an amazing job of breaking down these complex topics. That's WeCyberYou.com.
Stay curious and stay critical.
See you next time on the WeCyberYou Unlocked podcast. Stay secure out there.